EMPELAR, one of the most important and populous planets in the Aril cluster, if not the entire galaxy. A glittering world of blue seas and soaring yellow mountains. Sprawling metropolises and formidable fortifications cover the planet's 5 continents. Titanic space docks encircle 2 of its 3 moons, while the third is littered with ancient burial sites and long empty gene libraries. It was here, in the amber skies of EMPELAR, that the custodial wars began. Of all the great races of the galaxy, who had begun to rebuild following the long Age of Dusk, the Federation of Sol was met with the most success. EMPELAR had been the Federation's first successful annexation in more than 1,000 years, and it was soon followed by several other systems. Billions of credits had gone into the seizure and protection of the EMPELAR system. It served now as a symbol of Sol's military and political might. Because of EMPELAR and what it represented, Sol was now a leading contender for political control of the galaxy, a position that was soon threatened by the unexpected return of a familiar foe. Seeing their window of military superiority closing, the long-hidden L1Z1X minenet finally revealed itself to a stunned galaxy. The emergence of the minenet, with their daunting armada, and their subsequent claim to the Imperium of the Lazax, quickly led to the reassembly of the Galactic Council on Mechatol Rex. However, debate over the minenet's claim to the Imperial throne quickly began to stall. No race wished to see these new cybernetic beings given the reins of power, but neither could they assemble behind any other race to install as the rulers of the Imperium. As such, the discussion began to break down along partisan lines, and factionalism quickly saw the council in deadlock. All the while, the minenet was growing impatient. With the Federation of Sol, their most direct competition for the throne, the L1 began to hatch a plan. Beginning with EMPELAR, they would push deep into Federation space on both sides of the galactic core, putting humans in their place after what they had long ago done to Mechatol Rex. The half-mad mind of El Cid, long entombed in eldritch technology, still thirsted for vengeance, and ordered with glee the attack on EMPELAR. The Sol Navy, however, was not caught entirely by surprise. Minenet communications had been intercepted by Yssaril intelligence brokers and were funneled to Federation High Command. Quickly, Sol leadership began to react. Redeploying the Federation Navy would take time they did not have, as the L1 assault fleet was already en route. Further, ion storms made communication with EMPELAR over the supraluminal comms network impossible, so no warning could be dispatched in time. Rather, the Federation's only available course of action was to send the nearby Supreme Admiral de Luis to EMPELAR in order to take command of the small Paris task force at dock there, in hopes of stopping the minenet assault. The Supreme Admiral's elite cruiser, the Mitterrand, immediately made for the system, plunging through the ion storms plaguing the Aril cluster to do so. It arrived just in time. Even as the Mitterrand received clearance for docking at the first moon of EMPELAR, a hyperspace bubble formed in Sector 3 of the system. The minenet force had arrived. 22 ships made up the core of the fleet, composed mainly of carriers and the L1's characteristic super dreadnoughts. The Federation task force over EMPELAR, meanwhile, had only one dreadnought, the Paris, plus the elite cruiser Mitterrand and a handful of support ships and fighters. The Sol fleet fought hard, but they were outmatched and outgunned. Luckily, Supreme Admiral De Luis and most of the crew of the Mitterrand were able to make it to the planet's surface before the entirety of the Paris task force was destroyed. But that was a hollow victory. With the sky now empty of friendly ships, the Federation's mega cannons began to fire on the L1 fleet. The minenet could not be allowed to land more infantry on EMPELAR. Despite having a state-of-the-art planetary defense system, EMPELAR's garrison was nothing compared to the invading army. Before the Sol ground forces had succeeded in activating their planetary shield, the minenet had landed 6 divisions. If they could land more, it was over. Sol infantry were tough, but they were already outnumbered 3-1. The shield had to hold. Otherwise, the battle for EMPELAR would be over before it had begun. Across the planet, Sol forces had first contact with the enemy. 6 divisions of minenet soldiers, reinforced with Annihilator mechs, engaged Federation positions with maximum prejudice. But the Federation soldiers, their numbers in many places bolstered by Spec Ops troopers, held firm. Now led by Supreme Admiral De Luis, the Sons of Yord showed the galaxy what they could do. Each inch cost the L1Z1X dearly, and each hour of delay meant the Federation Navy was only closer to reinforcing EMPELAR. The minenet needed a breakthrough. APX-43, the commander of the L1 assault fleet, watched the battle wage from the bridge of his refitted super dreadnought. If the minenet was to prevail, he had to land the rest of his infantry. And to do that, the Federation shields had to come down. So calling across the minenet, he contacted Turam, who had designed the experimental weapons platform installed on his dreadnought. It had been intended for use on Yord, but desperate times called for the system to be brought online early. Turam and his engineering team complied with the orders, quickly charging the super dreadnought's experimental weapons. The newly integrated network flared to life, and the warship's guns spoke with one voice. The planetary shield over EMPELAR flared and died under the concentrated barrage. On the planet, pandemonium reigned. The loss of the planet's shielding meant the rest of the L1 infantry could make landings, and the minenet fleet could harrow Sol installations with impunity. The battle was over. Any further fighting would only cost the Federation unnecessary lives. EMPELAR was lost. With dejection in his voice, Supreme Admiral De Luis called for a planet-wide retreat, withdrawing the EMPELAR garrison to nearby Herculor. The Federation of Sol had lost EMPELAR, but their war with the L1Z1X minenet had only just begun.